the journey of discovery begin. Meteorite falls on driveway. A strange discovery shocks Britain. A quiet night in the English countryside suddenly took a turn for the extraordinary when a blazing object streaked down from the night sky and crashed to the ground. The next morning, the homeowner could hardly believe his eyes as he discovered strange fragments scattered across his driveway and garden. A meteorite had fallen not in some remote location, but right at his doorstep. That night, he had only heard an odd noise outside, something like gravel hitting the ground or a small object striking the roof. There were no obvious signs, and he suspected nothing unusual until the morning light revealed the truth. Small, black, and silvery gray fragments were strewn across the ground. He bent down to pick up a few pieces and immediately sensed there was something different about them. These were unlike any ordinary rocks. Over the next few days, he carefully gathered every tiny fragment he could find, placed them in a bag, and took them to the Natural History Museum for analysis. The results stunned the scientific community. What had landed on his driveway was an exceptionally rare meteorite, a specimen of carbonaceous chondrite, a type of rock not only ancient, but also containing primitive traces from the dawn of the solar system, more than 4 billion years ago. Professor Sarah Russell from the museum explained that, to date, only 51 meteorites of this kind have ever been found on Earth. It is so rare that 2 space programs, including NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission, have been launched specifically to collect similar samples from space. OSIRIS-REx is expected to return with 60 grams in 2023, and this man, without ever leaving the ground, unexpectedly found himself in possession of 300 grams, 5 times the amount a multi-billion-dollar space mission hopes to retrieve. As for the value of these meteorite fragments, there has been no official announcement yet. But given their rarity, many believe that the sum he could receive would be substantial, a gift from the cosmos, arriving at just the right place, at just the right moment, as if fate had chosen him out of millions. The pigmen of Florida. Florida, already known for its bizarre stories, has become even more unsettling with rumors about the existence of squalous frightening half-human, half-pig creatures said to roam the Everglades swamps. The story begins in the 1960s, when the Rosen family purchased a vast area of swampland in Golden Gate Estates for development. Their plans, however, came to a halt when the state of Florida reclaimed the land to restore the environment. No one suspected that this area was hiding a terrifying secret. The restored land, now known as Alligator Alley, is teeming with wildlife. Alligators, Florida panthers, and bears are already intimidating enough, but squalus is said to be the true nightmare. These creatures reportedly have pig-like snouts, hunched human-like bodies, and are believed to lurk in the shadows of the swamps. Some theories suggest that squalus is the remnant of a lost branch of humanity, a bizarre evolutionary offshoot. Others claim they are the product of government-funded genetic experiments, a twisted result of scientific ambition. The most disturbing theory is that they are the outcome of centuries of inbreeding and isolation. These deformed, disease-ridden, and deranged beings are rumored to hunt in the darkness, attacking anyone who trespasses. In 2011, a local resident named James Scarborough reported encountering a squalus. The creature jumped out directly in front of his motorcycle, causing him to crash in panic. Was James making it up? Or do these malformed beings still lurk somewhere in the Everglades? The Haiku Stairs, stairway to heaven in the mountains of Hawaii. Hidden among the lush mountain slopes of Oahu, Hawaii, there is a special staircase locals poetically call the Stairway to Heaven. Its official name is the Haiku Stairs, a structure forever linked to military secrets from the past. This stairway, made up of 3,922 steps rising from the base to the summit, once led to a top-secret Navy radio station called the Haiku Radio Station, a facility that broadcasts communication signals to the entire Pacific Fleet. After the base was decommissioned in the 1950s, the stairs continued to serve as access to the world's first global navigation system, known as Omega. The original wooden steps were gradually replaced with metal stairs and ramps, the parts that remain today. Although the stairs were once open to the public, the surge of curious visitors soon raised safety concerns. In 1987, both the stairway and the radio station were closed entirely. In 2003, the city of Honolulu spent nearly $900,000 on repairs, with plans to reopen the site to tourists, but that never happened. By 2018, authorities officially abandoned any hope of reopening. No trespassing signs are ignored daily, and thousands of people still risk the climb for breathtaking views of Hawaii's valleys and mountains from dizzying heights. Eventually, the city of Honolulu decided to put an end to it all. With the city council's approval and the mayor's endorsement, the Haiku stairs are set to be dismantled, a decisive step to curb the increasingly dangerous trespassing. A beautiful path to the sky will soon be gone, but for those who once climbed it, the memory will last forever. The vanished village at Lake Anjukuni, an unsolved mystery amid the Canadian snow. On a frigid night in 1930, fur trapper Joe Lale entered an Inuit village near Lake Anjukuni in Nunavut, Canada, hoping to find shelter. He quickly realized that something was wrong. The entire village of 2,000 residents had disappeared. No one answered his calls of greeting. The houses were wide open, belongings left untouched. Even on the stove, a pot of soup sat half-cooked and moldy, as if people had left in a hurry. There were no signs of struggle or violence, and not a single footprint in the snow, just utter silence. Stories claim that when the Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrived to investigate, they found all the graves in the village had been dug up, the headstones neatly stacked to one side. Nearby, sled dogs lay frozen in the snow. Another trapper even insisted he saw a long cylindrical object fall from the sky, fueling suspicions of alien involvement. Police determined that the village may have disappeared roughly 8 weeks before Lale arrived. But the strangest thing is this: there is no official record of the incident. No investigation reports, no witnesses, no concrete evidence, and no one could ever confirm that Joe Lale actually visited the site. Was this legend simply the product of rumor? Or did an entire community truly vanish from the world, leaving not a trace behind? Panga Saidi Cave. The oldest human burial in Africa. Africa, the cradle of humanity, has long been recognized as the birthplace of modern human behavior, yet evidence of ancient burial rituals in this continent has remained extremely scarce and elusive. That was until archaeologists discovered a 78,000-year-old child's grave at the entrance of Panga Saidi Cave. This massive cave, discovered in 2010 on the edge of a rainforest in southern Africa's grasslands, became the site of years of careful excavation. Researchers painstakingly uncovered a shallow round pit containing the fragile remains of a child. It wasn't until 2017 that the bones were fully revealed. After creating plaster casts for preservation, they found 2 intact teeth confirming the remains belonged to a child about 3 years old. Remarkably, the spine and ribs were relatively undisturbed, indicating that the body had never been moved. This was a true burial. The child had been placed on its side, knees drawn up against the chest, a position suggesting it had once been wrapped in cloth or animal skin. The skull had collapsed, as if the head had rested on a pillow, a detail that led scientists to believe a formal funeral rite had once taken place here. This discovery not only illuminates the history of human burials in Africa, but also opens a window for comparing the funerary cultures of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. In the ancient darkness of that cave, the earliest traces of how humans faced death and expressed love for the departed began to quietly speak. The Sanchi Stupa, located in the heart of India, the Great Sanchi Stupa stands as one of the country's most enigmatic and impressive archaeological monuments. Built thousands of years ago during the reign of Emperor Ashoka, it has withstood the centuries, retaining its majestic presence and unique Buddhist artworks rarely seen elsewhere in the world. Each entrance to the stupa is flanked by square pillars intricately carved with lions, elephants, and dwarfish deities. By the 3rd century BCE, Sanchi had become a major center of Buddhism in the region. Initially, the site consisted of a simple brick and mortar structure, but over time, it was repeatedly expanded and enhanced. By the 1st century BCE, the grand stone gateways were completed, giving the stupa the magnificent appearance it boasts today. Yet, the true meaning of this ancient structure remains a mystery. It is believed that the stupa's round body symbolizes the universe, envisioned as a sacred mountain. Many carvings on its surface depict Buddhist symbols, a riderless horse, a parasol shading a throne, or sacred footprints. While many details have been explained, the entire complex remains shrouded in mystery, as if challenging future generations to unravel its secrets. Haunting ruins of Pompeii. In the ancient city of Pompeii, archaeologists have recently uncovered the remains of 2 men who perished during the catastrophic volcanic eruption of 79 CE. Judging by their positions, experts believe they attempted to escape the city in the brief interval between 2 waves of eruption. The first phase brought only a light rain of ash, but as panic swept through the city and residents fled, the second, deadly explosion struck, engulfing everything in scorching ash and obliterating all in its path. One of the skeletons belonged to a young man between 18 and 25 years old. Bone analysis shows he had spent much of his life performing hard labor. The other remains were of a man in his 30s or 40s, dressed more elegantly. Archaeologists found remnants of a thick woolen cloak beneath his neck, an indicator that he may have belonged to the wealthy class, while the younger man was likely his slave. Even more haunting is that their bodies were discovered in the corridor of a luxurious villa. Researchers created casts from the hollows left by their bodies in the hardened ash. They died from heat shock, their limbs contorted as if struggling against the final, excruciating pain. Excavations at Pompeii continue to reveal findings both strange and chilling, from the vitrified brain of a victim to a horse and its rider fossilized together in the disaster's wake. The ancient Stargate. In Sri Lanka, there exists a land steeped in mystery called Rajarata, which means the land of kings. This ancient complex, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is rumored to conceal a Stargate. Situated in Anuradhapura, an enigmatic ancient city, this place is surrounded by strange tales. Many claim that unidentified flying objects are often seen here, while others believe unexplained supernatural phenomena occur. The ruins here, built as early as 377 BCE, are scattered with Buddhist temples and stupas, renowned for their ancient architecture. Yet the most mysterious feature is a map carved into a rock face, known locally as the Sakwala Chakraya, or the Cycle of the Universe. This inscription is believed to be a magical guide to unlocking the universe's secrets. The problem is, no archaeologist or historian truly understands how to read it or what it really means. Current evidence suggests it may have been created in the 7th century, but since the Buddhist monks of that era left no written records, its true significance has been lost to time. Some believe the entire ancient city is itself a Stargate, capable of transporting people to another world or dimension. Yet, to this day, no one knows how it works. The mysterious royal tomb. In Turkey, archaeologists were thrilled to uncover a historical site that revealed a mysterious royal tomb and massive stone gateways. Brian Rose and his team began excavations at Gordion, hoping to find the remains of a king. But instead of a monarch, they discovered the body of a young woman in her 20s, alongside an 8-year-old child and a collection of more than 600 amber beads, believed to have originated over 2,400 kilometers away. Gordion, the site of this discovery, is an ancient city with 9 layers of settlement and more than 4,000 years of history. It was once the capital of the Phrygian kingdom, a name unfamiliar to many, though most have heard of its most famous king, King Midas, known for his golden touch. This ancient city is famed for its enormous mound, 17 meters tall, at its center, once surrounded by stone and mud brick walls. Excavations at Gordion have been ongoing for 75 years, yet countless secrets remain buried. The Ethiopian Bible. The Ethiopian Bible is unlike any version of the Bible most people know. Inside are stories of giants, fallen angels, apocalyptic disasters, visions of hell, and prophecies that the church has labeled heretical. Once the hidden mysteries of this ancient book are understood, it becomes clear why the Vatican forbade it. In the Roman Catholic Church, there is only one official Bible, a combination of the Old and New Testaments, the Hebrew Bible, and the Christian Gospels, united in a single volume. Yet the Ethiopian Bible, also known as the Ge'ez Bible, is far larger. It contains 88 books, including the Old Testament, the New Testament, Apocrypha, and Pseudepigrapha. It is these last 2 sections that have led many other Christian denominations to denounce the Ethiopian Bible as inauthentic. The Apocrypha is a collection of Christian literary works that are not recognized as canonical outside of Ethiopia. Strangely, these texts were once considered sacred in early Christianity. Over the centuries, they lost their holy status and were gradually removed from the church, except in Ethiopia, where they have been preserved. The Pseudepigrapha is even more controversial. These are writings attributed to biblical patriarchs and prophets, but in reality, they were almost certainly not the actual authors. The core issue is that the named authors are not the true writers. A classic example is the Book of Daniel, composed in the 2nd century BCE, even though the prophet Daniel lived 400 years earlier. The book claims to be the direct prophecy of Daniel, a chronological impossibility. In fact, many apocryphal texts are also pseudepigrapha, and the Ethiopian Bible is filled with such works. Among them is the Ascension of Isaiah, packed with Jewish apocalyptic visions, the Book of Baruch, which offers deep reflections on sin, or the Shepherd of Hermas, a key 2nd century work banned by the church for its radical views on repentance and forgiveness concepts considered central to the faith. Most notably, there is the Book of Enoch, said to have been written by Noah's great-grandfather before the flood. Though banned from every Christian Bible, Enoch is the most famous apocryphal text, recognized even by non-believers. The Book of Enoch details the real reason God punished the world with the flood. It explains that angels, sent to watch over early humanity, became corrupted. Unable to resist temptation, they lusted after human women and fathered monstrous beings that God never intended the Nephilim. The Great Flood thus became a moral necessity, cleansing the world of these abominations. The fallen angels were imprisoned in hell, while the Nephilim were destroyed. The book closes with a promise. One day, the Messiah will reign for 1,000 years. Could that day be near? The lost colony of Roanoke, America's unsolved mystery. In 1587, a group of 115 English settlers set foot on Roanoke Island, now part of Dare County, North Carolina, with hopes of building a new life in the New World. But none of them could have imagined they would become the center of one of the greatest mysteries in American history. As supplies dwindled, Governor John White was forced to return to England for help. He left behind his wife, daughter, granddaughter, and the entire colony. He intended to leave quickly and come back right away, but war in Europe delayed his return for 3 years. When White finally made it back to Roanoke in 1590, he found no one. The settlement was deserted, the houses in ruins, and all the settlers, including his family, had vanished without a trace. The only clue was a single word carved into a tree: Croatoan. N. That word referred to another island now called Hatteras, home to a Native American tribe of the same name. Was this a message meant to guide those who came looking? Many theories have been proposed. Some believe the colonists tried to sail back to England and died at sea. Others say they perished from disease, starvation, or were killed by either Native Americans or the Spanish. But it's also possible they willingly integrated with the indigenous people, seeking their only chance for survival with those who already knew how to live on this land. In 2012, an old map discovered at the British Museum revealed 2 forts drawn in invisible ink, one about 50 miles west of Roanoke. It's believed this map may have been made to conceal information from Spanish enemies. In 2019, another archaeological site was found, containing European pottery shards, sword nails, gun parts, and a writing slate, suggesting some survivors may have split into smaller groups and resettled elsewhere. Oral histories from local tribes later told of people with blue eyes and blonde hair who spoke a few words of Old English, adding weight to the idea that the Roanoke colonists eventually blended in and disappeared within the Native American community. Despite scattered clues in many places, Governor John White never saw his family again, and Roanoke, once a founding dream, became a silent ghost in America's history books. The secret room at Drumcastle, the mystery behind the old bookshelf. Nestled in the Aberdeenshire region of Scotland, Drumcastle has stood for over 700 years, but it was not until 2013 that one of its most closely guarded secrets was revealed: a hidden room behind an old wooden bookshelf in the first-floor library. Archaeologists had long suspected the castle contained sealed passages, as there were exterior windows that could not be seen from inside. Yet, no one expected to find a completely intact room with its original door and toilet silently concealed behind layers of dust for at least 150 years. Shortly after this discovery, another hidden room was found. At first, it was thought to be the hiding place of Mary Irvine's brother after the Battle of Culloden in 1746, where she misled British soldiers so he could hide in the castle for 3 years. However, footage from exploratory cameras showed the room was likely a kitchen or slaughterhouse, with a much more ordinary function. Drumcastle was granted to the Irvine family by King Robert the Bruce in 1323 and remained in their possession for more than 650 years, until it was transferred to the National Trust for Scotland in 1975. Today, it is the oldest castle cared for by the organization. But who can say how many more doors still wait to be opened behind those thick stone walls? What happened to the Knights Templar? To this day, Freemasons believe the Knights Templar were destroyed because they refused to surrender the secret knowledge they possessed to the Church and the King of France. This mysterious wisdom was said to involve Solomon's Temple and ancient magic. Some claim these knights were shadowy bankers, using their wealth to control the nobility of Europe. Others see them as brave warriors, protecting Christian pilgrims and safeguarding Europe's future. There are even accusations that they were heretics, devil worshippers who defied God. No one agrees on exactly why they were eliminated on Friday, October 13th, 1307. The story begins in 1118, when the French knight Hugues de Payens founded a military order with 8 relatives and friends. They called themselves the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. Their mission was to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. By 1129, the Templars were officially recognized by the Catholic Church. 10 years later, Pope Innocent II granted them sweeping privileges, exemption from taxes, and diplomatic immunity. They answered only to the Pope and to God. These privileges enabled them to amass enormous wealth through their banking system, making Europe's kings uneasy. The Knights followed a strict code of conduct. They were forbidden to wear pointed shoes or even kiss their mothers. They swore to live in poverty and chastity, even as their order became wealthy. None were allowed to keep personal money or relationships. Despite these rules, membership grew steadily. The Templars became the most powerful military force in Europe, both respected and feared on crusade battlefields. They built fortresses, won many victories, and were seen as fearless warriors. But their golden age ended quickly. By the late 12th century, Muslim forces had retaken Jerusalem and the Crusades failed. In 1291, the last Crusader stronghold in the Holy Land fell, forcing the Templars to relocate to Paris, dangerously close to King Philip IV of France. Just 4 years later, in 1307, Philip ordered the arrest of all Templars on Friday, the 13th. Many were tortured until they confessed to heresy and devil worship. In 1312, Pope Clement disbanded the order, and, officially, their assets were given to the Knights Hospitaller, though historians believe Philip seized most for himself. But is that the whole truth? Freemasons insist the Templars were destroyed because they held secrets that threatened both the Church and the French crown. They believe remnants of the order survived, still guarding hidden knowledge to this day. Some conspiracy theories even claim the Templars safeguarded the bloodline of Jesus, protecting his descendants for centuries, awaiting their return. Does the power of the Knights Templar still linger in the shadows? The Dog Cemetery of Peru, a friendship that never dies. The bond between humans and their pets is not just a modern story. In Peru, during 2006 excavation along the Osma River Valley, over 535 miles from Lima, archaeologists uncovered a touching aspect of the ancient Chaja culture, a cemetery for dogs. While studying the burial sites of the Chaja, an agricultural community that existed before the Incas, the archaeological team unexpectedly discovered 82 dog graves interspersed among human ones. These dogs, known as Chaja shepherd dogs, had been carefully buried with blankets, food, and even grave goods. This reveals that the relationship between people and dogs here went far beyond mere labor. Dogs were seen as family members, sometimes even buried beside their owners, a sign of respect and gratitude. In 2012, more than 100 additional dog remains were found at the Lima Zoo, indicating this custom was far more widespread than originally thought. Some dog bodies were so well preserved that their skin and fur were still intact. They were placed in sleeping positions, wrapped in ornate woven cloths, as if they were resting in the dreams of their owners. Pre-Columbian Peruvians believed that dogs were guides for human souls to the afterlife. When dogs were buried with their owners, it proved their friendship was not just simple, it was sacred, even immortal. Perhaps, since the dawn of civilization, dogs have always been humanity's most loyal companions. Alhambra, the dazzling red fortress of Granada. Set atop a hill in Granada, Spain, Alhambra is not merely a palace, a fortress, or an ancient city. It is a brilliant jewel of Islamic architecture in Europe. In every respect, Alhambra deserves to be ranked among the wonders of the world. The name Alhambra means the Red Fortress in Arabic, named for the reddish sun-baked bricks used in its construction. Built starting in the 8th century, it is the sole surviving monument of the golden age of the Nasrid dynasty, the last Islamic kingdom in Western Europe. Unlike the crumbling castles often seen across Europe, Alhambra is a massive architectural complex covering 26 hectares, surrounded by a wall over a mile long, with at least 30 imposing watchtowers. The first records of the fortress date to the 9th century, when a man sought refuge here during fierce battles between Muslims and Muladis. From its humble origins, Alhambra gradually expanded, and by 1238 it became the royal palace of Muhammad bin al-Ammar, the founding king of the Nasrid dynasty. In 1492, the Islamic Empire fell as the armies of King Ferdinand of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile captured Granada. Spain was united under the Catholic monarchy, and Alhambra was repurposed for new needs. Mosques were demolished, parts of the complex were altered, but most of the palace's exquisite architectural art and designs were preserved, a testament to a civilization that once flourished at the heart of Christian Europe. Today, Alhambra stands as grand as ever, quietly telling the story of a world gone by, a place where art, religion, and power blended in every brick, every stream flowing through its ancient courtyards. Portolavia Harbor, a marvel on the cliffside. Resembling a small fortress perched on the cliffs of Sardinia's coast, Portolavia appears enchanting beneath the Mediterranean sun. Yet, behind its castle-like facade, carved into the rock, lies a masterpiece of modern engineering, a project that completely transformed how people mined and transported minerals in the 20th century. Built in 1924, Portolavia was not a fortress or lookout as its ancient appearance suggests. but a unique mining port, one that allowed workers to release ore directly from inside the mountain straight down into waiting ships below in the bay. The convenience and efficiency of this design elevated Sardinia's mining industry to a whole new level. Since the 17th century, this region had been known for its lead and zinc mines, but it was not until the early 20th century that demand for these valuable ores truly exploded, bringing with it the pressure to modernize. Before Portolavia, transporting ore was a long and arduous journey from the mine. It had to be hauled to the surface, carried over rugged roads to the nearest port, and then loaded onto ships. The process was not only exhausting, but also costly and slow. With Portolavia, everything changed. The structure was built right against the cliff, overlooking the sea, creating an exit directly above the water, where ships could dock below. Tunnels running from deep inside the mountain were designed so ore could be dropped straight down, saving both time and money. This breakthrough was akin to a modern-day drone delivering cookies right to your doorstep, a technological miracle of the early 20th century. It took only 2 years to complete, but the results completely transformed production. Transportation costs dropped by 70%, and shipping time was cut from months to just a few days. Eventually, as time passed, the ore veins began to run dry, Sardinia's mining industry slowed, and Portolavia officially closed in the 1990s, but its legacy has never faded. Today, Portolavia is preserved as a unique feat of engineering and is even being considered for UNESCO World Heritage status, a powerful testament to human ingenuity and creativity in the golden age of industrialization. The Royal Waiting Room, a hidden gem in the heart of Milan Station. Amid the bustling chaos of Milan's central station, Stazione Centrale, where more than 300,000 people pass through daily, there is a closed door that almost no one notices. Behind it lies a completely different world, the Royal Waiting Room, or Royal Pavilion, a symbol of luxury once reserved exclusively for Italy's royal family. The space was added to the station in 1926 at the suggestion of Italy's Minister of Communications, Costanzo Ciano. The goal was to create an elegant waiting area for the Savoy royal family whenever they traveled by train to their country palace. The luxury was almost ideal, a private room set apart from the crowds. Though Italy's monarchy ended right after World War II, the room still exists to this day. It has 2 levels. The ground floor was once decorated with fascist symbols, which have since been removed. Upstairs is where the royal splendor remains most evident. Marble floors, royal crests, premium furnishings, and a balcony overlooking the station's main square. One intriguing detail is the wooden floor carved with a swastika, a symbol once added to impress Adolf Hitler, should he ever visit. In reality, he never set foot there. Elsewhere, a large mirror in a small bathroom hides a ladder leading to a secret escape route, as if the place was designed with emergency getaways in mind. Today, the Royal Pavilion is rarely open to the public. Most people rushing through the station have no idea that behind those familiar stone walls lies a royal story silent and proud in the heart of Milan. Ayutthaya, the faded glory of the Siamese dynasty. About 40 miles north of Bangkok, in the Chao Phraya River Plain, there once stood an ancient city called Ayutthaya, a former capital now reduced to silent ruins, yet still exuding the majesty of an empire that once flourished. Ayutthaya was founded in 1350, about a century after the first Siamese capital, Sukhothai, was established. From a small riverside settlement, Ayutthaya quickly rose to become a thriving capital in 1378. Remaining the kingdom's political and commercial center for the next 400 years. The name Ayutthaya was chosen by King Ramaswan, not to commemorate himself, but inspired by a legendary kingdom in Thai folklore, Rakan Ayutthaya. Not only was it a religious and cultural center, but it was also one of Asia's busiest trading ports, attracting merchants from Europe, Britain, and across the East. They came and marveled at the intricately carved temples, grand palaces, and a sophisticated canal network that served both as transport routes and natural moats defending the city. Ayutthaya needed no stone walls. Its winding waterways provided an almost impregnable defense. But all glory fades. In 1767, Burmese armies stormed in, obliterating the capital. The city was burned, its people killed or enslaved. A dazzling civilization was wiped off the map. Yet, what remains in Ayutthaya today, scorched stone pillars, headless statues, stairways leading to nowhere, still whispers powerfully of a golden past, when a dynasty once reigned over the land known as the Venice of the East, the New Blue. A few years ago, a team of chemists accidentally created a unique shade of blue, the first new blue pigment discovered in over 2 centuries. It might sound minor, but the discovery was remarkable. They had created a vivid blue, now called YInMn blue. It took 10 years for the pigment to be approved for commercial use under the U.S. Toxic Substances Control Act, and it finally became available to art suppliers in 2020. Today, it's one of the rarest paints in the world. One shop once sold 40 milliliters of YInMn blue, less than a shot of tequila, for $179.40. This new blue was so distinctive that in 2017, Crayola announced it would replace the discontinued dandelion yellow crayon with a new one inspired by YInMn blue, even though the real pigment was too expensive to use. The pigment was created by scientists at Oregon State University while researching materials for electronics. When graduate student Andrew Smith heated manganese oxide to 1,150 degrees Celsius, he noticed a strange blue compound forming in the kiln. Beyond its striking color, the compound is extremely stable. It doesn't react to heat, cold, water, or acid. Other blues, like cobalt blue, are carcinogenic. Prussian blue can release cyanide. By contrast, YInMn blue appears to be safe. Since that lucky accident, the research team has developed other durable pigments, including yellow, orange, green, and purple, and is now seeking a safe, stable red. The Tower Tomb. In Bulgaria, a massive tower tomb stands tall, echoing the grandeur of the monumental mausoleums at Petra and Palmyra, revealing secrets of a lost age. Researchers believe this structure may have belonged to the Roman Emperor Philip the Arab, named after the land where he was born, Arabia. This colossal structure dates back to the 3rd century CE and was only discovered in 2018 after archaeologists excavated Bulgaria's largest ancient burial mound. Deep underground, among layers of sediment accumulated over millennia, the broken remains of the tower tomb slowly came to light. What makes it unique is that the structure was not built by the Thracians, who only used stone and earth. Archaeologists estimate the entire tomb could have been over 60 feet tall, though it has not yet been fully excavated. This distinction only strengthens the theory that this was the resting place of Philip the Arab, who was betrayed and killed at the Battle of Verona. Denied burial in a traditional Roman tomb, it is likely he was interred here, with the Thracians later covering the site with one of their own burial mounds, much as the Spanish-built churches atop Aztec temples. The Forgotten City, Xunantunich. Hidden deep within the jungles of Belize, the ruins of the ancient city Xunantunich, also known as the Stone People, rank among the most impressive surviving Maya sites. Located near the Guatemalan border, about 80 miles from Belize City, it was once a thriving center with an estimated population of 200,000. Today, the most prominent structure is El Castillo, the castle, which rises 40 meters high and remains the second tallest building in Belize. The city was abandoned about 1,000 years ago and swallowed by the jungle. It wasn't until the late 19th century that a local resident rediscovered it after reportedly seeing the ghost of a young Maya girl in the forest. In 2016, archaeologists uncovered a tomb deep beneath the city center, possibly the resting place of a ruler. Inside, they found the remains of a man aged between 20 and early 30s, along with obsidian knives, jade beads, ceramic vessels, and bones of wild animals, possibly a jaguar or deer. Although the area has been excavated since the late 19th century, it was only recently that a royal tomb was found, a sensational discovery. The city also boasts 6 plazas, 26 temples, and numerous carved stelae inscribed with undeciphered glyphs. Perhaps Xunantunich still holds mysteries waiting to be revealed, whispering echoes from the Maya past. The giant hybrid sheep. When cloning technology falls into the hands of ranchers, stories once thought possible only in science fiction become reality. Arthur Jack Schubarth, a Montana rancher, shocked both the scientific and legal communities with actions that crossed every line. More than a decade ago, Arthur and a group of associates secretly plotted to clone embryos of a rare wild sheep. Their plan was to create a new hybrid breed, each lamb potentially worth more than $10,000. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Arthur was not charged for cloning, but for wildlife smuggling. He had illegally imported genetic material from the Marco Polo argali of Pakistan, the world's largest sheep, strictly protected under the Endangered Species Act. Montana prohibits their import to protect local sheep from disease and to prevent crossbreeding that could weaken the native gene pool. Using these smuggled samples, Arthur sent genetic material to labs to create cloned embryos. The final step was implanting the embryos into regular sheep on his ranch. Remarkably, the plan worked. A purebred Marco Polo sheep was born, which Arthur named Montana Mountain King. According to Smithsonian, Arthur went on to breed MMK with ewes, producing giant hybrids, some even larger than purebred Marco Polo argali, which can weigh over 660 pounds and carry horns more than 5 feet long. However, This success was a crime. Arthur was sentenced to 6 months in prison for endangering Montana's ecosystem and violating animal trafficking laws. The judge handed down the sentence as a warning to anyone considering genetic manipulation of Earth's creatures. At least for now, both scientists and the law continue to caution, stay away from genetically altering your livestock. Seals and eels, Hawaii's strange ocean mystery. Among the countless curiosities of nature, one phenomenon has left Hawaii's scientists scratching their heads. Young monk seals with eels stuck in their noses. It sounds like a joke, but since 2016, at least 4 such cases have been recorded long, slender eels somehow winding up deep in the seal's nasal passages. No one is quite sure what's happening. One theory from NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is that while foraging in coral reefs, the seals might accidentally trigger a defensive response in eels, which then swim up their nostrils. Another theory suggests the seals swallow eels, and, when regurgitating, the eels mistakenly exit through the nose, similar to when you accidentally sneeze noodles through your nostrils. Regardless of the cause, the consequences can be serious. The eels don't survive, and the seals risk severe infections if not treated in time. Fortunately, researchers monitor the population closely and remove the eels as soon as they are discovered. In photos released by NOAA, the seals appear more embarrassed than hurt, a comical sight. Yet behind this odd phenomenon lies a sobering concern. The Hawaiian monk seal is critically endangered, with only about 1,400 individuals left in the wild. That's why every life, every strange occurrence, is carefully documented, for a single eel in the nose, if not managed, could be fatal for a species on the brink of extinction. The secret apartment in the Eiffel Tower. When the Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889, rumors quickly spread about a secret near its summit, a private apartment built by engineer Gustav Eiffel himself. It was a small but cozy space, decorated simply in keeping with its owner's tastes. Located nearly 300 meters above ground, the apartment was fully equipped. Wooden cabinets, several desks, a small kitchen, a bathroom with a separate toilet, and even a grand piano. Surrounding, it was an open balcony with a panoramic view of Paris. Driven by his passion for science, Eiffel even set aside an adjacent room for housing the latest research equipment. As word got out, Paris's elite grew envious. Many wealthy individuals approached Eiffel, hoping to rent the space, but he always refused. He didn't care about money. He wanted to inspire awe. This was his private sanctuary for contemplation, where he would occasionally invite distinguished guests, like Thomas Edison, for tea. The apartment had no bedroom. It was never meant for long-term stays. Today, the space is open to the public, a belated reward for those who wish to glimpse the hideaway in the sky of one of France's greatest minds. Message in a bottle. In Michigan, Captain Jennifer Dowker, who leads archaeological diving tours in a glass-bottom boat, unexpectedly recovered a rare find, a real message in a bottle, nearly a century old. While cleaning the boat's exterior windows, she discovered a bottle wedged among the rocks. Upon opening it, she was stunned to find a letter dated 1926. Its contents were simple. The writer hoped that whoever found the bottle would send the letter to someone named George Morrow Chaban. It seemed like an impossible mission, but thanks to social media, Jennifer tracked down George's daughter, Michelle Perrault. She not only recognized her father's handwriting, but also confirmed that as a young man, he loved dropping messages into lakes, rivers, and oceans as a whimsical pastime. George passed away in 1995, but this old letter has become a priceless keepsake for his daughter, a cherished memory of her witty and romantic father. The Cave of Prehistoric People. Amid the Sahara Desert, inside an abandoned gold mine, hundreds of perfectly preserved stone tools have been discovered. The gold rush in Sudan once brought miners here, but long before them, Homo erectus had already used this place. Hand axes, crude chopping tools, the relics of ancient humans may be as much as 1 million years old. The fragments scattered throughout the mine suggest it was once a workshop, where a single individual may have crafted tools for the whole group, much like a blacksmith in a prehistoric man cave. From these leftover stones, it's hard to paint a complete picture of life 1 million years ago, but experts believe that Homo erectus, the first humans to leave Africa, left a clear mark. Across the eastern Sahara, around 200 sites containing Paleolithic tools from both Homo erectus and Homo sapiens have been identified. The Blinking Mummy. The story of the mummy Rosalia Lombardo begins in the 1920s when a 2-year-old girl died of pneumonia. Her father sought out a mummification specialist to preserve his child forever. More than a century later, Rosalia still rests in eternal sleep, her face hauntingly intact, inside a glass coffin in the Capuchin catacombs of Palermo, Italy. But what astonishes many is the blinking phenomenon. Numerous visitors swear they have seen Rosalia open and close her eyes, as if watching, and then quietly drifting back to sleep. For years, no one could explain it. Some believed it was caused by temperature changes in the crypt moving her eyelids. In 2009, the crypt's manager discovered that Rosalia's eyelids had never fully closed. The way light reflects into her eyes and the changing viewing angles create the illusion that she is blinking a blink through time, haunting all who witness it. The treasure map in the Dead Sea Scrolls. In 1947, among the barren cliffs along the Dead Sea, a group of shepherds accidentally shattered a ceramic jar hidden deep within a cave. When they went in to investigate, they unknowingly opened the door to one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the century, the first fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Over the following years, about 15,000 fragments were found, pieced together into more than 800 ancient religious texts. These were hidden in darkness for over 2,200 years by a mystical Jewish sect known as the Essenes, who believed their sacred mission was to safeguard all religious knowledge while awaiting the coming of the Messiah. But among these texts, one scroll stands out, the Copper Scroll. In 1950, two archaeologists found it in Cave 3 lying silently on a stone shelf, carefully sealed in a jar. Unlike the other papyrus or leather scrolls, the Copper Scroll was inscribed on a copper tin alloy. A cold, metallic inscription, but inside was the language of longing and ambition, a treasure map. There are no prayers, no teachings, only a list of 63 locations, places where gold and silver were said to have been hidden. And what drove everyone mad, for decades, not a single one of these treasures has ever been found. Searchers have scoured the Judean desert, but no one knows exactly where to look. The directions in the scroll are simply too vague. For example, at the ruins of Horbat in the valley of Achor, under the eastern steps about 40 feet, there is a chest of silver weighing 17 talents. A talent is an ancient unit equal to about 75 pounds. So 17 talents would be over 600 kilograms of silver, worth nearly $27 million today. A real treasure, if anyone could ever find it. The strange substance on the moon. During an exploration of the moon's far side, China's Yutu-2 rover discovered a mysterious substance never before observed. The find immediately drew the attention of scientists, as it was unlike any material ever found on the moon's surface. At first, it appeared to be an unidentified gel-like substance. After a year of analysis, researchers concluded it was actually rock. Using spectroscopic methods, they determined the material had a deep blue color, a glossy surface, and existed as a mass about 50 centimeters long. Its composition includes glass, indicating it was formed in a violent impact event. Most likely, a meteorite crashed onto the surface, causing minerals to fuse under extreme heat, forming a dark, glassy substance. There's also a possibility that the engine of a spacecraft once melted the rock in the area, creating this rough, glassy layer. Though it wasn't the mysterious gel many had hoped for, the discovery still sheds new light on the harsh processes that have shaped the moon's surface. Dark matter stars. Scientists have proposed an intriguing hypothesis. In the earliest days of the universe, there may have existed stars composed entirely of dark matter. This has not yet been confirmed, but it opens up a fascinating window into what might have occurred right after the Big Bang. When the Big Bang first happened, the universe was much smaller than it is now. In that dense environment, dark matter formed and may have condensed into the universe's very first stars. What's remarkable is that, despite the name, dark matter stars would not have been dark at all. On the contrary, they might have been the largest and brightest objects in the early universe. To this day, no one has ever observed such a star, but astronomers are still searching. Dark matter is notoriously elusive. It emits no light and only reveals itself through its gravitational effects. Estimates suggest that about 26% of the universe is made up of dark matter, and thousands of its particles pass through the human body every second without anyone noticing. The theory suggests that dark matter clouds may have clumped together to form the first stars, which in turn triggered the formation of ordinary stars and galaxies. As the universe expanded, dark matter stars gradually vanished, losing their role and perhaps becoming extinct long ago. Cities forgotten by history. According to legend, the city of Pingyao was established over 3,000 years ago in the 9th century BCE. During the Qing dynasty, it became the banking capital of China, referred to as the Wall Street of the ancient world. Although it never vanished completely, Pingyao was gradually overshadowed by the rise of modern cities. Its nearly 12-meter high, 6-meter thick walls, with 6 sturdy gates and millennia-old architecture, are slowly crumbling with time. Experts believe that beneath the bricks and stones of the modern city, there are still ancient ruins yet to be unearthed. After decades of searching, scientists finally uncovered the lost Maya city of Saktsi. Over 2,500 years ago, deep in the Mexican jungle, Saktsi was a legendary center, home to around 1,000 people by the year 750. Though far smaller than Tikal, with its 90,000 inhabitants, Saktsi remained one of the key cities of the Maya Empire. The search that began in 1994 only took a turn when a student discovered a limestone stela inscribed with glyphs, leading researchers Charles Golden and Andrew Scherer to its exact location. Thanks to LiDAR technology, the entire scale of the city was revealed. Stone walls, cooking tools, the skeleton of a mysterious woman, and a stone tablet recounting battles, floods, and the legend of a mythical water serpent. In northern Iraq, the ruins of Mardin, a 4,800-year-old metropolis, were just discovered. Built around 2800 to 2650 BCE, Mardin thrived through the Neo-Assyrian period before declining in 612 BCE. During excavation, German archaeologists found 92 cuneiform tablets and the remains of a palace, helping them pinpoint the city's name and location. It is one of the few sites in Iraq that has not been looted, promising even more Assyrian treasures to be uncovered. Further into Central Asia, the ancient city of Urgench once served as the prosperous capital of the Khwarezmian Empire. Located at the crossroads of caravan routes linking Persia, Russia, China, and Byzantium. But in 1221, Genghis Khan devastated the city, then rebuilt it as a new commercial hub. A century later, Amir Timur destroyed Urgench again, causing the city's collapse and abandonment. Today, only the Tekesh Mausoleum and an old tower remain as silent witnesses to history. In India and Pakistan, Chanhu Darrow is one of more than 2,800 sites belonging to the Indus Valley Civilization. Founded around 4000 BCE, it is notable for lacking defensive walls. 6,000 years ago, the area flourished thanks to the Sarasvati River, with inhabitants farming and herding livestock. But by the 2nd millennium BCE, as the river dried up, life became difficult, and the city fell along with hundreds of settlements along its banks. The mighty Indus Empire finally collapsed. Off the coast of New Orleans, a bold theory about a 12,000-year-old city is under debate. Retired architect George Gillet believes that beneath the waters near the Chandeleur Islands lie the remains of an ancient metropolis, with granite blocks transported by the Mississippi and arranged into structures. For 50 years, fishermen have hauled up mysterious stone cubes, while boat captains claim their compasses spin wildly near what some suspect is a submerged pyramid. While there's no definitive evidence, the possibility of a sunken city continues to fascinate archaeologists and fuel ongoing investigations. Forgotten cities from Pingyao to Dwarka, Mardin to Mahendraparvata each hold stories of prosperity, downfall, and enduring mysteries. Though buried by time and nature, they still wait to be uncovered, ready to fill in the missing chapters of human history. The Nagaswara Swami Temple. During the pandemic lockdown, residents of a small village in India made an astonishing discovery: the well-preserved remains of a temple lost since the 1850s. The temple, found in Perumaladu, Nellore district, had been buried by sand after the Penna River flooded and forced the village's abandonment. Elders had always spoken of the lost temple, and at last, those stories led to its successful excavation. This is the temple of the deity, Nagaswara Swami, known in the English-speaking world as Shiva. Researchers estimate the temple was built about 300 years ago, along with 2 other temples in the area, most of which remain buried. According to legend, the temple was sanctified by Parashurama, one of the 10 avatars of Vishnu, the preserver of order in Hindu belief. Vishnu is also the god whom Krishna, a major figure in Indian mythology, is considered an incarnation of. This region still hides many temples yet to be uncovered, promising more extraordinary discoveries in the future. Skull 5, a clue that could rewrite human evolution. In 2005, in the Republic of Georgia, archaeologists unearthed an ancient skull, one that might forever change our understanding of ourselves. The skull, named Skull 5, dates back 1.8 million years. For years afterward, scientists studied every detail in silence until a controversial revelation emerged. Everything we thought we knew about human evolution might need to be rewritten in a much simpler way. The discovery shook the worlds of archaeology and anthropology. Until now, names like Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and Homo floresiensis have been considered distinct evolutionary branches of humankind. But Skull 5 suggests something different All these forms might have been the same species, one lineage with a common ancestor, only differing in appearance due to environment, diet, and the pace of adaptation. Just as today, Scandinavians and Africans may look different but belong to the same species, our ancestors may have once been just as diverse. They weren't separate branches, but different versions of an original early human. So why didn't science see this before? Perhaps because of bones. Ancient remains from different parts of the world showed inconsistent traits, leading scientists to think they were from separate species. But the Skull 5 research team believes that, despite these differences, all are descendants of a single ancestor, and that our evolution, once thought fragmented, may actually be a unified story running through time. The secret of Bronze Age weights and measures. While studying ancient trade history, researchers uncovered an amazing discovery. As early as the Bronze Age, humans had established a transcontinental trade network, one that operated without standardized money or a central government, relying solely on systems of weights and measures. They examined weighing systems used from Western Europe to the Indus Valley between 3000 and 1000 BCE. The surprise? Everywhere. The weights were remarkably similar. This meant a merchant from Mesopotamia could take goods to Europe and exchange them without any trouble. It was the world's first true global trade network. Professor Lorenz Rahmstorff of the University of Göttingen believes the spirit of free trade and entrepreneurship was present even then and may have been the first foundation for today's international commerce. The era wasn't called the Bronze Age by accident. Without coins or paper money, people used scrap bronze as currency, broken axe heads, pieces of swords, even old jewelry. Everything was weighed on a standard scale and exchanged for things like oil, furs, or grain. Remarkably, these ancient weighing systems could even self-adjust, reflecting changes in value according to supply and demand. It's a strange example of how, even without money or trading floors, people managed to create a global market using nothing but bronze, stone, and trust. The strange bear skull and traces of an Ice Age hunt. In a frigid cave in the Ural Mountains, scientists discovered the skull of a cave bear, a giant creature that once roamed Russia's tundra 35,000 years ago. But what made the find so mysterious was a round hole at the base of the skull perfectly matching the wound left by a spear. If it truly was caused by a weapon, this would be the earliest evidence ever found of humans hunting cave bears with spears. That would mean our ancestors in Russia once faced and brought down these enormous beasts during the Ice Age, using nothing but handmade weapons. A daring act, but not impossible. Other theories can't be dismissed. The bear may have been injured by another bear or struck its head on rock while hibernating. It's also possible that thousands of years of dripping water eroded the bone, leaving a hole. The skull was found by researchers from Ural Federal University in Cave M, but no weapons were discovered nearby. For now, scientists can't say for sure, but they believe the bear was killed while it was hibernating reasonable, given the hole's location. Perhaps a human silently approached, struck a fatal blow, then dragged the carcass away for its skin and meat. That image, a prehistoric person dwarfed by snow, hunting bears in the darkness of a cave, sends a chill down the spine, a reminder of the harsh realities faced by humans tens of thousands of years ago. Pella, Jordan, the city buried in the past. People first settled here around 5000 BCE, and the ancient city of Pella flourished during the Greco-Roman era. Located at the crossroads of major trade routes connecting Europe with the Near East and Asia, Pella became a bustling commercial center, influenced by countless cultures passing through. Later, when the city fell into the hands of the Ptolemaic dynasty, disaster struck Pella in 83 BCE when the ruler of Judea ordered the city's complete destruction after its residents refused to convert to Judaism. During the Byzantine period, Pella was reborn as trade routes reopened and industry boomed. Scholars estimate that by the late 5th century, some 25,000 people lived in or around Pella. However, after several changes of power and a massive earthquake that devastated much of the city, Pella was abandoned for 5 centuries. Today, a team of American and Australian archaeologists continues to unearth the region's hidden treasures. Researchers have uncovered the ruins of a great church, a vast water reservoir, and remnants of homes, shops, and urban structures. The remains of a Byzantine church built in the 6th or 7th century have been found, as well as a Roman-style bathhouse. There's hope that future digs will reveal the remains of some of the earliest Christians to have lived here. Not far from the main mound, a system of caves may hold artifacts left behind by Pella's first inhabitants. Alien drawings. In 2018, archaeologists discovered 52 rock shelters in central Tanzania. These shallow caves were once inhabited by prehistoric hunter-gatherers and are located within the vast Swaga Swaga Game Reserve. But some of these caves contain something out of the ordinary. In a cave called Amaki 4, the research team found a series of strange rock paintings. Creating cave art was a common practice for ancient Africans, usually depicting animals they encountered, and the same is true at Amaki 4, with images of giraffes, cattle, and other small creatures. What caught researchers' attention was the presence of bizarre human figures that looked uncannily like extraterrestrials. These figures had tall, slender bodies, elongated limbs, and unusually large, round heads. While it could be argued that this is simply an exaggerated art style, there are also more natural-looking human figures in the same cave, suggesting that these strange depictions were intentional, not just the result of limited skill or random whim. No one knows exactly what happened in the past. Perhaps ancient people were simply expressing their imagination, but it's also possible they once encountered beings that looked human but had abnormally large heads. Another theory suggests the images are a blend of human and animal traits, a mythological tradition portrayed through art. Whatever the explanation, the Amaki 4 rock paintings remain highly unusual. So far, scientists haven't been able to determine their exact age, as the pigments have deteriorated badly. All that's known is that they have been there for centuries, though exactly how long remains a mystery. Tower of Babel, when myth becomes stone. In ancient Babylon, a fired clay tablet thousands of years old has revealed something that's left archaeologists stunned. The legendary Tower of Babel, long believed to be a biblical symbol, may have been a real, physical structure. Whether one believes in the Bible or not, there's no denying it was written over 2,500 years ago, and like all human creations, it likely contains fragments of historical truth. The tale of the Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11 may now have one foot in reality. According to the story, there was once a time when all of humanity spoke a single language. They gathered in the land of Mesopotamia and began building a great city. With no language barriers, they worked in perfect harmony, achieving architectural feats never seen before. Then they set their sights even higher, deciding to build a tower that reached the heavens. But their ambition angered God. He destroyed the tower and scattered their tongues, creating the multitude of languages we know today. It sounds mythical, but Professor Andrew George, a Babylonian civilization expert from the University of London, believes there may have been a real structure behind the tale. He studied a clay tablet unearthed a century ago that shows a massive step tower with a solemn king standing at its base. Beneath the image are the words Edamananki Ziggurat, Babel translated as Temple Tower of the City of Babylon. Edamananki was real, a colossal ziggurat from ancient Babylon, rivaling Egypt's pyramids in scale and ambition. Professor George believes it may have inspired the story of the Tower of Babel, a monument so awe-inspiring that its name still echoes across the centuries. The Hell Gate of Ireland. In Ireland, there is a cave long regarded as the most haunted spot in the country, not only because it's seen as an entrance to hell, but also as the birthplace of Halloween itself. The cave, known as Owenagad, lies in the rural landscape of County Roscommon. Its entrance is hidden in a small ditch at the edge of a field, surrounded by rolling green hills and farmland. If you happen to walk by, you'd barely notice this legendary cave, as it looks just like a small dark hole in the underbrush. But for over 1,000 years, people have celebrated the festival of Samhain right outside its mouth every October. They believe that during the transition from autumn to winter, there was a single night when the boundary between the world of the living and the realm of spirits became thin. According to legend, that's when ghosts, goblins, monsters, and all kinds of supernatural beings could cross from the darkness into the human world. Folktales say these creatures would crawl up from the underworld from Owenagad itself. Though no one could see them with the naked eye, as they were thought to be invisible spirits, belief in their presence was deeply rooted in ancient consciousness. That faith became the foundation of Halloween. When Irish people emigrated to America in the 19th century, they brought this tradition with them. That's why every Halloween, people dress up as monsters and strange creatures, reenacting the spirits that were once believed to crawl out of the underworld on Samhain night. If you enjoyed these mysterious stories, let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next discoveries. See you in the next video.